Ah. All right, hello. Oh gosh. Right. Okay. So, working the do. So I was just thinking lately. I was thinking, how can I make a video? What am I going to say if I want to make a video to front my channel? You know, uh, how do I convince people to do the work? So there's lots of reasons I could give. I mean, it's the right thing to do. I mean, I could try and simplify it and say, well, doing the work, you know, it applies to different people differently. You know, it's going to mean something different to each person. What it really means is putting the work in to become a better person, making yourself a better person. Now, according to different people, that could mean all sorts of different things. It might mean seeing your children and spending more quality time with your children or your pets. It could mean, I don't know, eating better food, growing your own food. It could mean like fulfilling your ambition to walk across a country, you know, or a continent. Building your own house. It could be anything, you know. It could be learning to cook. It could be getting fit. But whatever it is, it's about making yourself a better person. It's about putting the work in to become a better person, right? And that's going to mean different things to different people, and they're going to have to go about it in all sorts of different ways. I could say that. I could try and sell you on that thing. I could also try and sell you the idea that when you do the work, it's much more efficient to be as a way of finding happiness, right, and true happiness, than any other method of trying to deliberately search for true happiness, right? This is what I've noticed from doing the work. I'm not making it up. This is what I found, you know. So I could tell you that. I could try and sell you the idea that, you know, doing the work is basically the heart of all these religious traditions all around the world. They're all talking about the same thing. It's doing the work, becoming a better person, putting the work in, doing the work, you know. It's about living in the truth. So like Buddhism, Christianity, it's the same goal. You know, you're supposed to walk the path, do the work. Taoism as well, you know. Yoga, you know, one of the sort of like pillars of Hinduism, about bringing all your life aspects together, making sure that all your different aspects, your physical self, your emotional self, your mental self, your spiritual self, are all in alignment, you know, so that you're a whole person, you're a living soul. I could try and set it like that. But I've decided on another way of selling it, right? What it is that I could carry on making these videos and telling you about the path and how to do the work and stuff, and you could just keep watching these videos. But it'd be better if you actually done the work and made your own videos about doing the work. And all the time I keep doing, like, making these videos and talking to you, I'm not only am I not doing the work properly, because, you know, I've already told you everything you need to know. You know, there's only so much you can do when it comes to teaching people, and, you know, advising them about how to do the work. I can't be bending over everyone's shoulder, like watching over them, like, and babying them through the work. That's ridiculous. That's not how the work works. You have to make your own meanings. You have to do the work yourself. You know, you have to become your own whole person. You can't have some teacher telling you what to do and, you know, and interfering with you doing the work. You have to do it for yourself. You have to find out the way for yourself. So it's like, that's what I've decided that needs to be done. It's like people need to do the work themselves. I'm wasting my time in a way, like trying to talk to people about the work. Hi, HRC. I mean, the other thing is about doing the work. Another thing, if you don't do the work, if you don't talk about the truth, if you don't live in the truth, who else is going to do it, you know? And if you don't do it, then the world won't become a better place. You know, we're in this man-made mass extinction event. People need to do the work to save the world, you know? And it's much better if you people learn to do the work yourselves and start spreading the message of the work. I mean, I'll probably find other ways to do the work and other ways to spread the message. You know, there's always opportunities. Every day there's opportunities to spread the work, to talk about it, to send out a signal, to fly the flag, you know. What you got planned today then, HRC? You gonna have fish today because it's Friday? You like a Catholic or something? I'm not really a Catholic at all, but I like to try and eat fish on Friday just because it reminds me. It's like an easy thing to remember, you know. Just eat fish on a Friday. I had some last night. I'll show you what fish I eat. It's like this smoked mackerel. I mean, mackerel is the same family as tuna, but this smoked mackerel is like, it's much oilier than your average tuna. It's the best one I've found. It's from a local supermarket. I almost feel like getting it out and showing you and squeezing it, but then I'll have to eat it straight away then. Maybe I'll make another video about it. When you squeeze the meat of it, it's so oily and it's sort of soft. It's really soft and juicy. I got this gluten-free bread, right? I make a sandwich with like last night I made this sandwich with unpasteurized butter. You'd have to really search for that, you know. In America, it's not easy to find, but here it's not easy to find either. There's only one supermarket in a town of, I don't know, 100,000 people or more, and there's only a little bit in the butter section. It's about 20 or 30 blocks of butter there mostly. So out of the whole town, you know, only a few people buy it. But you have that with some of this, and some gluten-free bread, a bit of low-fat mayonnaise, lots of salt, and it's like a trip, you know. It's so nutritious. You're getting all your omega oils, you get the omega oils from the butter because it's unpasteurized. You get the omega oils from the oily fish. It's very rich in omega-3, and it's proper brain food, you know. You improves your mood. You just can think more clearly. You sleep better, and you can drink more alcohol without getting serious hangovers. You know, it's the good stuff, and it's not very expensive either. You know, you can spend a lot more on fish than you pay for this. This is quite cheap. The only slight problem is that it's got quite a bit of bones in there. You have to pick the bones out. I actually like picking the bones out because when you use the fish quite often, you get used to where the bones are. So you take all the bones out. I enjoy it, taking all the bones out, splitting it in half. So you go down the spine and make sure that you haven't missed any. And then you squash all the fish into sort of like squidginess and then stick it in a sandwich. It's like a little ritual that I enjoy. And then there's the benefit of eating it afterwards. Yeah, so I was thinking, like, what am I going to do for my channel as like a video for the opening of my channel. I mean, when people come to my channel, the video that's you know, the introduction video. I mean, there's some other things I want to talk about. One of the interesting things is it's like living in the truth, right? Some of it's really horrible, but the thing is, it's weird. It's weird kind of horrible. You got these people, like the majority of people, they're deceived by the media, they're deceived by the government, right? But if you try to put them right, if you try to explain to them about things like the behavioral control, scientific roots of our school system, how it's designed to turn people into people that have got no free will and that just are order followers, right? So that you're essentially slaves. Or the banking system, which basically steals half of your earnings out of your life. And therefore also makes you a slave. The media, which is constantly lying to you, including things like the archaeologists with their lies about history. You're being lied to. That's keeping you a slave as well, through knowledge, like through keeping you in ignorance. The vast majority of people, they don't believe this stuff, right? Because to them, the government and the media are like gods that they worship. You know, they really are like gods that they worship. They won't admit that, I don't think, but their actions betray them. I mean, you can see what's going on. For example, the cannabis thing, which I love to mention, cannabis curing cancer, right? This is like, it's a known fact. It cures cancer. I mean, it's arguably, I mean, easily, arguably, it's the most definite cure for cancer in terms of something that you can take as a medicine. They won't believe it because they believe, you know, if something doesn't agree with what their God says, i.e. the media or the government, they will disregard their own eyes and ears and the evidence right in front of their face if it doesn't agree with what their gods tell them. And they will do that. And it seems like there's no fixing stupid. You can't fix this kind of stupid. It's just, you know, until enough people do the work and make it so clear that the government has to sort of like tell the truth, you know, only then will the majority of people like agree. Because until then, they're just going to believe whatever the government tells them to believe and believe whatever the media tells them to believe. You know, despite the fact that it's known over and over again, it is proven over and over again that these people continually lie. They're compulsive liars. So it would be absolutely madness to believe what they say because they continually lie all the time. That's what they do. You can put this out to most people and they will still believe it. They will still follow their gods. You know, man, I don't know. When you've got the majority of people all like wasting the planet and destroying the planet, it seems to matter to me what they believe. You know, I don't have freedom, real freedom, because of what other people believe. They're wrong and I'm right, but they're the ones in control because there's more of them, and this is like a majority mob rule establishment. It's the mob that rules. I should have a great big pot of cannabis extract in my fridge, and it should cost me, you know, a relative no more than coffee extract, like instant coffee. So why haven't I got it in my fridge? Because of what everyone else believes, you know. See, I'm kind of interested in this idea that of making it so absolutely clear in yourself, right, that you know what's going on. Your foundations are built on solid rock, and you know that the vast majority of people are completely insane. You know, they are just like that. Got completely split personalities. All their bits are not connected. You know, there's the lift doesn't go up to all the way up to the top floor. You know, they've got a few spanners short of a toolbox. You know, a few sandwiches short of a picnic. We got a screw loose. You know. They've truly gone fishing. They've flown over the cuckoo's nest, you know. You know, also, I'm not that bothered about it really. It's like, I don't think that you can't fix this stuff. It's probably, I've been starting to also think that maybe it's a good thing that this system, this bureaucratic system, has got everyone under control, and these people are controlled because it takes care of a lot of problems. I mean, as one of my favorite authors wrote once, consider a policeman let loose on society. At least a policeman, right? I mean, they're probably not all bad. You get a few decent ones, but mostly they're pretty stupid. They're making sure that cannabis is like prohibited, even though it cures cancer and there's no harm to it. No one's ever died from it. Conversely, that they are pushing, that they're protecting all these drug companies which are poisoning and murdering people, like the pharmaceutical industry. You know, they're murdering people, and they protect the bad guys and punish the good guys. So the police are a bit crazy, but what if everybody was free? What if we didn't have this system? I mean, what would all these people be doing? These crazy people, you know? Hardly bears thinking about. At least they're under control at the moment. I'm not saying whether these things are wrong or right. I'm just saying it's interesting. This is how things are. I can't see any sign of people like en masse doing the work or en masse becoming aware of things. Although there are apparently signs that people are becoming more aware that cannabis cures cancer. But the problem with that is when it becomes known, and yeah, I do that anyway. You don't need to tell me to drink. That's part and parcel of my channel. You know, I'm probably always going to drink. Except when I have a holiday from it. I'm going to have a holiday soon, I think. This is like a pilgrimage, the work for me. This was going to be an introductory video. I've kind of blown that now. I liked your video, HRC, with you shaving. That was funny. It reminded me of Father Christmas when he's finished for his like little term of service for a couple of weeks, and he's sort of like after the new year, and like he has a shave and then gets ready to grow his beard again for next year. I think of you like Father Christmas now, but this is your downtime. What you do on here is when you're not working as Father Christmas, the rest of the year you're on here as HRC. It's your alter ego. I'm sure you are, yeah. How are you going to pass for Father Christmas next year if you don't grow it back? Anyway, there's this other thing about, the reason you can't get people to do the work and why doing the work is such a great deal, because, like as I said before, I mean, there's so many reasons why to do it. Only people who are not in their right mind will not do the work. It's like a shortcut to real happiness, right? I mean, that's a good enough reason to do it by itself. It's the right thing to do. Another good reason. It's the only way to get to paradise. Another good reason. It's the only way to make the world into paradise. Another good reason. It's the only way to save the world. Probably. Another good reason. There's so many ways. But the reason I like the most in some ways is that all these people, it's demonstrable that the vast majority of people are completely mad. Their brains don't work properly. They're not seeing things as they are. So you can be like the one-eyed man who is king in the kingdom of the blind, like, because they won't wake up. Once they've been deceived, they're not even like humans. That they're like birds. That they use their bird brain. No amount of showing them evidence or telling them the truth will make any difference to them. That they will fight you. They will defend the liars. They will defend the devil. They're like the devil's foot soldiers. That's what the Matrix films are about. So there's nothing you can do about them, really. But what I like to do is choose my battles. If people talk to me and they seem relatively open. For example, I walk along the street and there's some people come up to me. They're doing interviews to find out what people are who someone's going to vote for, right? So I straight away I say to them, well, it doesn't matter who I vote for. They're still going to have a school system that brainwashes people and dumbs people down. It doesn't matter who I vote for. That's still going to happen. It doesn't matter who I vote for. They're still going to keep cannabis, prohibited and not give it to people as medicine, and not allow them to have it as medicine. So why should I vote? That's what I tell them. So I choose my battles. They can't really argue with me, The same with the religious people. If the religious people come and talk to me and try to give me their leaflets, I just say to them, well, what about living in the truth? What about cannabis curing cancer? What about the school system dumbing people down? How can people understand this literature if they've been dumbed down? How can they be have the attention span to read this literature if they've got cancer to deal with because they haven't got the proper medicine and the doctors are poisoning them? So yeah, choose your battles. There's no point trying to sort of convert people who won't be converted. You don't talk about it all the time. You just talk about it, when it feels right. When you can. It's not going to inconvenience you too much. But it's important to talk about it. and to know where you stand in the big scheme of things. You know, you have to see the big picture. It's part of, you know, you need both sides of your brain, your right side of your brain, the big picture, and the small side to deal with the details and get the right balance. Just to know, right? I find it's like it's a weight off my shoulders to know that no matter how hard I try, you can't really win people over to doing the work. They won't do it. You know, they'll pretty much find any excuse they can to avoid doing the work. That's another reason why I'm doing this video, as a kind of like, I want to make it clear, I've already tried doing the work, and you know, I'm going to carry on in my own way to do the work. Everyone has to do it in their own way. But there's no point in me making more videos because I've already said everything I needed to say. And I know people might like watching my videos, some of you. But the thing is, you can make your own videos. You can do the work yourself and make your own videos. That's really what you need to do. Otherwise, I'll become like a celebrity. If everybody, like, if I carry on making videos and you see me progressing, I mean, it was a bit of a wake-up call for me the other day when I'd done the breathing exercises and I held my breath out, like with my lungs empty for 4 minutes. You're not supposed to be able to hold your breath even with a lung full of air for more than 3 minutes, although people do, you know. The underwater divers, they can hold their breath for seven minutes or so. So it's nothing that new. But for me, only on my second try, I'm pretty impressed with myself. To me, it tells me I'm doing something right. You know, if I can hold my breath for 4 minutes without any oxygen, without any air in my lungs, without even realizing how I'm on that sort of level, well, I must be doing something right. There's more. I can go a lot further than this. And so can you. You don't realize how much you can do, what your potential is, until you start doing the work. I probably am going to make a few more videos though about supplements and stuff and nutrition in the future. But at the moment, it's like, you know, I've got more important things to do than make videos, and I haven't really got a lot to say. But it's more about what I'm planning, what I'm doing, and making videos about what I'm doing is like kind of like stopping like in the middle of a race to sort of check your stuff, and you can't afford to do that. Some of the thoughts just are too difficult to put down into language or into videos, and it's more, and also it would be boring, you know, where the work, some of the work is actually quite boring, or it's tedious to try and make videos about it, you know. So yeah, I just encourage people to do the work and make their own videos doing the work, and so that you can like log it and help encourage other people to do the work. So hopefully you'll come to the same sort of like conclusions that I have, that it's a shortcut to happiness. Now, I'm not looking to try and be happy. I'm looking to do the work, but I just find that over and over again, I keep finding myself like very satisfied, very happy with my situation, and being kind of amazed how much I've improved. Now, part of that is to do with having a high standard to set yourself, a high goal. And I would recommend, you know, look at a 5-year goal of how you want to improve, but make it much higher than you know, than you think is probably possible, but also try to make it somewhat realistic, you know, so that it's possible, but unlikely. And do the best you can, you know, but don't push too hard. Do what you can. Do it in a way that is like you can enjoy, and you can feel you can make progress in small steps. Okay. That's what I found. It has helped. I mean, I've been doing the work now for 5 years, and I can still see that there's loads of areas where I can improve on. You know, I could improve it a lot. I won't go over it all again in detail or anything, but okay. So it's one of these things is knowing. It's the emotional part, knowing that the people that you're surrounded by are essentially agents. They're stuck in the matrix. You can't really communicate with them. You have to treat them with kid gloves. You can't tell them the truth because they just won't hear it. And so that there's some other kind of world outside of that. The majority of people, and it's probably, you know, it's difficult to say how many people there are. I just say about 90% of people, or you know, I'm just guessing. It's probably more, or it may be less than that, depending on how you look at it, and depending what subjects you're dealing with. People are all different. Their maps of reality are all different. So, yeah, something to bear in mind though. You can't wake people up, you know, when they're not ready to be woken up. Most people aren't ready to be woken up. A lot of what I'm saying is just I'm repeating what's in the Matrix films. You know, what Morpheus says to Neo. Most people are not ready to be woken up. They can't get out of the Matrix because they're so dependent on it. It's like they're God, you know, like the media and the government and the school system. It's their God, you know, and you can't mess with their God. You can't criticize their God. They just won't accept it. No matter how true you are, how obvious it is, they still won't accept it because it's their God. It's like it's more important to them than their mother and father, you know. So this is part of this is like a realization. Yeah, it's a realization that you there's no point wasting your effort trying to teach people who can't be taught, you know. But on the other hand, you don't want to allow them, because they will try and defend the Matrix and they will keep you in the Matrix. You want to make sure that you cling to the truth like your life depended on it, because otherwise before you know it, you'll have cancer. You'll be brainwashed. You'll be defending the enemy, you know, of humankind and stuff. And so you need to still live in the truth. It's like you kind of got to float between two worlds. You've got to be in the world, but not of it. So you're floating between these higher realms where your emotions, I mean, you should have a really good emotional state pretty much all the time. What? That's funny, isn't it? Someone says check their channel and then they've disappeared. Well, that ain't gonna work, is it? Yeah, hello, HSC. Yeah, I'm kind of like wasting people's time a bit here. I'm just sort of like, I wasn't really clued up for this video, but I just wanted to say some stuff. And it can be one of those videos where you can just see someone talking face to face. I kind of like the idea of videos where someone's just talking and I can sit there and chill out and see a person. Because what I don't like about these modern videos is too much work, too much like clips, video clips changing every half second, you know, flashing this and flashing that, and it just overwhelms my consciousness. I'd like to see someone make videos like I do, who just sitting there and talking, even if they don't know what to say some of the time. I know it's boring. We're so used to a fast-paced world. That's another thing I like about doing the work is slowing down. You know, slowing down, taking things at a more relaxed, sedate pace, a more natural pace, you know. Like you was talking to someone in a room, you know, sometimes there are a bit of like uncomfortable silences, you know, so that's normal, that's natural. That's just what should happen. It's part of the flow of things, you know. It's like the music, you get silences, you know, the music of the spheres. Sometimes there are silences. Those silences are what make the good stuff all so much better. Another thing, that's another thing, because it reminds me when I have these silences, it's like, that's what I needed to say. Something I've been meaning to say for ages, right? About all this Matrix stuff and all this shitty stuff in the world with the banks and the chemtrails and the poisoning of the oceans and all that. In order to appreciate the work and the good stuff, you need to have all this bad stuff. You need to have like the devil there. Like you know, in the background, in the periphery, prowling around like a lion at midday, you know, as it is written. Because if he's not there, you know, if there's no bad stuff going on, you're not going to appreciate the good stuff. You know, you need the bad stuff to appreciate the good stuff. It's like you need the dark to appreciate the light. There's got to be some kind of balance. So those things are kind of inevitable. And it's easy, and I do it a lot. It's like moan about all the bad stuff. But I just want to also mention that, yeah, sometimes, yeah, there is a balance. You need a balance anyway. The tape that I played the other day, a few days ago, the Gurdjieff quote. In Gurdjieff, to understand Gurdjieff, you must have to drop all your categories. In him, the sinner and the sage meet. In him, the sinner and the saint meet. You know, they become one. So there's this other aspect of this. This is a transcendental sort of nature. Another way of getting out the matrix, where you just don't look at it in terms of the matrix. You don't look at it in terms of people out the matrix and people in the matrix. We're all basically the same. And if I talk to individual people about things that aren't so like jagged edged, you know, and cutting edged, like when it comes to the matrix and enlightenment and stuff, I can get on with most people. Most people are okay. They're quite good, nice people to talk to, and that, at least for a short period of time. Yeah. See, making videos like this, when I'm dragging on like this and all these periods of silence, it's like I know people haven't got the time, or they don't feel like they've got the time to watch these videos, apart from HRC. You seem to be able to manage it. I think most people just feel too busy. They haven't got the attention span. The thing is, I'm not in, as far as I'm concerned, that's a lot to do with smartphones and just the way modern films and modern media is portrayed, with all these cuts of scene, like so often. And I really struggle to find videos that I can watch it in a relaxed manner, because there's too much going on, and it just sort of like overwhelms my consciousness. I can't take it in, so I just have to switch off, and that's one of the reasons I'm occasionally I'll do these videos where I just drag on a bit. I'm a bit slow because that's what I want to watch. I'd want to see people like just talking normally, like they're talking to a person. Although, I don't know how most people talk. If they're basically they've got split personalities, their subconscious is completely misaligned with their conscious, then they're talking loads of nonsense. Really, they're not really living in reality. So a lot of people I can't follow much anyway. Like this idea of the right and left side of the brain, the big picture, like the right side and the details, it's an ongoing thing. It's like the little insects that live in the forest. The forest is like the rainforest is like the right brain, and the left brain is like the insects that live there. So there's like a flow of consciousness between backwards and forwards, like a tide, like the waves. So there's like a movement going from the details to the big picture and back to the details and back to the big picture. It's just like this continual movement. It's one thought that's just traveling like the electron. It goes from a tiny little thing that you can't even measure because it's so small, and it expands out to the whole of the universe and then comes back again 10 to the 23 times every second. It's and I think your brain has to mirror that. Your brain has to mirror it, and so you have to look at the details, but you have to look at the big picture as well, and you have to keep going backwards and forwards. There is no ends to it. This is the work. It's like this endless sort of windscreen wiper that's going backwards and forwards like this from the details to the big picture and back to the details and back to the big picture. And then you have to have a drink to relax, and so you can just go into oblivion for a while and get some sleep, or smoke some cannabis or something, or both. So that's how the work works. That's why you should do the work, is because it's the shortest path. It's the shortest path. Doing the work is the shortest path. What you're really doing is you're trying to align yourself. You're aligning your physical with your emotions and your mental and your spiritual. You get them all in alignment, all working in unity. So it's necessarily, obviously, going to be the shortest path to whatever you want. Whatever you desire in life, whatever your goals are, you have to do the work. It's integral. It's fundamental. They're cliche kind of words, aren't they? Fundamental, But don't misunderstand as well that probably everyone you come across will try to stop you doing the work, because you make them look bad, and you make them have to think. If you do the work and you're doing it successfully, you make everyone else look bad, and feel inadequate. Now, to me, that's their problem. They'll try and make it your problem. That's why you got to. That's one of the things about doing that. Hermetically sealing your world. Hermeticism, one of the things and features about Hermeticism and like the sages typically went and lived in caves and stuff, and isolated themselves. So it happens in the East and the West. It's like an old-fashioned path. You don't have to go and live in a cave. You can just have your little flat and just don't have any friends. Don't talk to people. Don't have any contact with your family. That's a way of doing it. You don't have to do that. Most of the time, they're just going to keep you in the matrix and confuse you. And they're basically the devil. They're try it out. Try talking to them. If you don't believe me, try and explain this stuff to them and see what happens. You know, they just basically, they won't take you seriously. They want to worship their God. They want to worship the media and the government, you know. You can't get them to snap out of it. So you're best off just staying on your own and doing the work by yourself until you start making proper progress, and then choose your battles. You know, don't. There's no point trying to explain this to people, because they just won't understand. They don't want to understand, and they will be indignant, and they will hate you for doing the work. You know, even though it's the right thing to do, even though all these religions are saying the same thing, they're basically all saying that you have to do the work. When people actually do the work, people don't like it. I've noticed this with the religions. You know, in Buddhism, they try to make Buddhism, like becoming the reaching nirvana, like seem like an impossible task. You know, they talk about going through millions of lifetimes until you can get to nirvana. You know, which doesn't make sense, because if Buddha would have known that, right? They're basically trying to make Buddha sound like an idiot. They worship him, but at the same time say, well, he didn't know what he was doing, because he was trying to teach people to reach nirvana, you know. So, you know, he was an idiot. That's basically what they're saying. And they're the same with Christ. Oh, yeah, Christ said heaven is at hand, but, oh, actually, you only go to heaven when you die. So it's not really at hand. You know, you have to actually die first. That's what the religion's basically trying to tell everyone. They all just lie through their teeth. That's how the devil works. He always tries to get centralized power, take over any institutions or movements that have got any power and like life in them, and destroy them and turn them into a puppet, like a zombie, a vampire that he can control. That's what Agent Smith does, you know. So that's really what you've got to understand. Anywhere where there's centralized power, there has to be the devil, because that's what always happens. That is the path that the devil always takes. He looks for any sort of power, any centralized power where there's lots of power accumulated, and he automatically takes over it. That's what he always does. So the government, the media, the medical establishment, the banks, the school system, they're all totally corrupt. Now YouTube. That's another reason I also don't expect to get many viewers, because people will police themselves. They police, like in the Matrix films, they police ignorance. There's this sort of like area on your third eye, right? And I've seen it recently. I look out into the world, and if I open up my third eye, I see that there's all these people that have got it blocked. It's like it's sealed up, shut. You know, so that they almost like worship their ignorance. And if somebody has got it unblocked, they don't know what to make of it. They don't like that person. They try to get them blocked up. They try to seal that person's third eye shut. You know, so that's how it works. And they do it like without even knowing they're doing it. They're doing it on the astral plane. That's how the Agent Smith works. He works through people, and he cons you, because if you start looking at the physical world like it's too real, you don't notice that these people are doing stuff to you on the astral plane, and they're trying to seal you up and keep you ignorant. We've just had the full moon, right? When the full moon is there, your energy is coming up your back, and at the full moon, they're at the top of your head, right? That's when you're connecting to the mental plane, the machine world. And that's when you can more clearly see the truth. There's still the spiritual world above that. But the full moon, the reason why people go a bit crazy around the full moon is because they are in touch with their real mental plane. So that's why they go a bit crazy, because they can't really deny the truth of it. It's like, You get to the right of the full moon, it's like a lightning bolt, like goes down, and it's the truth. And people just deal with it. That they've got all ways of trying to hide the truth from themselves. So that's why they go a bit crazy, right? It'd be much better to just learn to sort of live with the truth and just know that the vast majority of people don't know how to live with the truth. They can't deal with it. That's why they go crazy. Anyway, yeah, you can have fun with it. I think, you know, it's like you don't have to fight. You know, like in the Matrix films, is a lot of the time Neo is fighting Agent Smith. You know, there's all these big long scenes where he's fighting Agent Smith, and it gets a bit tiresome even to watch it. You know. But I think what they're trying. Another film is They See, the one where with the glasses and that, and he has this fight scene with his friend. He's trying to get his friend to wear the glasses so he can see all the aliens that have taken over. And he ends up with this really long fight scene, you know, and it's really like tiresome to watch. But it's a good kind of example. It's a good representation of how difficult it is to get people to see the truth and to wake up and to do the work. Because they will basically rather die. They would rather fight you than see reality, you know, and face up to it, which is completely crazy. This is another thing about it. You've got to. This is what I want to just get it down now. It's completely crazy what they're doing because they're protecting Agent Smith. They're protecting the devil, and they're fighting real humans who are trying to like make them to, you know, more human. And that's what they do. And the reason they fight is because they think that the media and the government must be right, because the alternative, that they're all lying, is unthinkable to them. It's so frightening. It's so horrifying that they just can't bring themselves to face up to it. And so what they do instead is they believe the lie and they fight to protect the lie. And the lie is destroying the world. Right? So, and it's destroying humanity, stopping people from being human. So they're doing the worst thing they can possibly do under the circumstances. And that's what most people are doing. They're doing the absolute worst thing they can possibly do. And when you try to sort of help them, they just fight you. So, you know, choose your battles. You know, don't waste your energy trying to fight these people and trying to enlighten them. Just live in the truth, do the work, you know, create paradise around you, protect paradise around you, and just like do what it says in Revelations. You will have to see them. You will have to watch them go to hell. You know, that's all you can do. It's the only way. You know, there is no other way. I know this because I've already tried it over and over again, and so I just know it doesn't work. You can't get through to these people. They just try to attack you and undermine your sense of reality. You know, undermine your sense of sanity and stuff. They're working for the enemy. The vast majority are working for the enemy, and there's nothing you can do about it. Or not, obviously, not that I know anyway, except do the work, you know, because that way, when they see you in the street and you look healthy and you're happy, they know that, and they're not happy. So, and you don't want to talk to them. That's the best thing you can do, because you're saying to them, look, I'm right, you're wrong, but you won't hear anything I have to say. So I don't want anything to do with you, because you're an idiot and you're working for the enemy. So you don't have to say it to them. Like, you can just say it with your actions, which is much more powerful than trying to actually talk to them and engage them in conversation, because their ears aren't working, their eyes aren't working, There's nobody there really. So that's the best thing you can do. That's what doing the work is about. And when you do that, you feel so much, it's like a great weight off your shoulders, you know, and you just feel like you've got a lot more energy. You can move ahead. Like some of the things I've been finding out with all the supplements and herbs and stuff and the exercises, I've got like more or less, it seems like I've got a real lot of control over my health and the idea of going to any doctors now just seems ridiculous. It's just absurd. You know, unless I had a broken bone and I needed the bone set or something like that, there's no reason I would ever go to the doctors. It's that time of year again. Seeing as I'm here and it saved me making another video, it's that time of year. I've just been getting all my wild, I started getting my wild vegetables. I'll just show you a couple. Now I've got here nettles. I know everybody's seen nettles before. I picked these yesterday. They're only the little tops of the nettles, but it's a nice little bag of nettles. They're really like spinach. I've just made. I'll just show you. I'll just show you these first. These are the nettle tops. You know, they smell really nice. They smell sweet, sweety sort, and a bit savoury. You can use them like spinach. Apparently you can eat them raw, but I don't eat them raw. I always cook them. And here's some wild garlic. Yeah, they've got a slight garlicky smell. Also, you can use them like spinach. This is early on in the season, but you can use these bits like spring onions. You can use them like onion. Later on in the season, the stalks grow a lot longer. So you can like use the top bit like spinach and the stalks like onions. You can use them, just chop them up like in small little pieces and just use them just like diced onion in like a bolognese or something like that. So I use them quite a lot. I make a really nice soup with, I just had one recently with a carrot, some nettles and some wild garlic, just all chopped up and boiled up together, and then blended with one of those stick blenders with some olive oil and a bit of salt. It makes a really nutritious, really nice soup. It's also another aspect of the work is to get food from the wild. This is mentioned in the Bible as well. I think Christ says something about people who get food from the wild are blessed. I always ask permission of the spirit of the plant that I'm going to take. I ask them if you know, I say to them, hello, and I find the biggest, nicest looking plant and I say, hello, I call you grandfather. Would it be all right if I had some of your brothers and sisters and grandchildren, some of their leaves for my food and medicine, and my body will become food for your children one day? I got this from the Native Americans. They do that. And then I wait to see if they like nod to me or if they shake their head or if they just stay still. And I just sort of perceive it. So most of the time they give me permission. About maybe 1 in 3 times, two out of 3 times I get permission, and 1 out of 3 times they sort of like, I don't get a very good response, so I don't pick them. So I always try to get the permission of the animal, of the plants first before I take them, and I'll always use it all up. You know, I got this yesterday. This will be used within 2 days now. It's kept in the fridge, and it's just so good quality. The taste is so good. It's so nutritious, and it's free. And I like to go for walks anyway in the countryside, so it's just like get food for free, and it's just really high quality and full of nutrition. The wild garlic is really good for your circulation, so for your heart and your brain function. The nettle tops are packed with nutrition. They've got loads of omega oils, twice as much omega oil as tuna, omega-3 that is. It's just crazy not to go and pick them. I went to my brother's one time, and to make wild garlic and nettle soup at my brother's, and I made it. He ate it. He said, you know, he ate some. I think his wife ate some, but he wouldn't let his kids have any. I was a bit annoyed. This is what my family's like with their family scapegoating. He said to me, he was eating it, going, oh, this is really nice, you know, and this is, I'm surprised how nice it is, right? But then he's got like 4 kids, and he wouldn't let them try any of it, you know. That's what family scapegoating is like. It's just fucking weird. You know, they treat you differently. Like, oh, yeah, I don't mind eating it because I'm your brother, but I can't let my kids have any because you can't completely be trusted. But I'm prepared to take the risk because I'm your brother and I'm like a real man, you know, and I don't mind sacrificing a bit of like safety, you know, but I don't want to like risk my children getting ill. But then he's giving his children all this kind of shit food from the supermarkets that's like probably doing them a load of harm. But I've got something that's from the wild and it's like going to do you a load of good. There's no chemicals on there, but I can't be trusted completely because I'm the family scapegoat, you know. I've been reading like little things about and watching videos about people who obviously on the autistic spectrum, a lot of people that don't like to look at people in the eye, that sort of thing. And they've got like a very different way of looking at the world to most people. And people treat them differently, you know, and they don't take them seriously. They sort of the vast majority of people treat autistic people. This is why I've started looking at autism as the shamanism. Basically, that they seem to be the same thing. Autism and shamanism are just basically the same thing. You know, people have to develop their shamanism. They have to go through these barriers, go through these initiation rituals, and this is what happens typically to people on the autistic spectrum. If they're going to live and if they're going to like succeed. Otherwise, I've noticed like that, like in Britain, you've got the Autistic Society, right? And it's all run by left brain people, obviously, and they treat them all with kid gloves, and they've got this way of like controlling them and getting them to see things and telling them what normal people can accept and what they can't accept. So they have to talk in ways that to me seem really pathetic. So I don't really want to belong to these societies. They say things like, we understand, we have a different sort of language, we have a different way of looking at things, and it's as though we can't communicate with you in your language, right? It's all like that. It's all like all kid gloves, all softly. We don't want to offend anyone. But from my point of view, you people, the majority of people, you're completely mad. You've got split personalities. That's why you can't talk to us, because you're completely insane, right? That's what I would say. So they wouldn't allow me to be part of their group, their club, their autistic club, because I'm going to speak the truth, how I see it. And I'm not going to play silly head games pretending that there may be some way of like communicating with these people if we could just find the right interpreter, you know. It's like the truth. The truth is just what is. You know, I've seen people, I've heard people talking about the different ways of perceiving the truth. But what I see people doing, like, is, and what the bureaucrats do, the government do, and the double speak people do, is they can try to edit the truth, right? So if you're saying that cannabis cures cancer, they say, well, cannabis it can be dangerous for children. It can make them become more schizophrenic, things like that, right? Well, what evidence is there? I don't see any evidence of that. Where do you get the evidence from? I've never heard. I don't know where the evidence is. When they used to say, oh, cannabis causes brain damage, you know, where did they get the evidence from that? It was because they gave monkeys 3 minutes of pure cannabis smoke to breathe and no oxygen, and that caused them, no oxygen caused them to have brain damage, and the scientists said cannabis causes brain damage. It's like it's obfuscation, it's deception. And that's what they do. That's how they constantly deceive people. They constantly lie. That's the truth. That's what they do. Ever since cannabis was prohibited, they keep changing the lies. Every 10 years or 20 years, they come up with a new set of lies to demonize it, because the old lies don't work anymore. So they create new lies. The latest lie is that it causes schizophrenia in children. But as far as I can see, I've never heard the slightest bit of evidence. You can't. I don't know where the evidence is. I've not heard anyone talking about it. So it must be lies. These people have lied consistently about cannabis. So why would this be the truth? This is a particularly hard one to disprove. How do you disprove that cannabis causes schizophrenia in children? You'd need double-blind studies. They're never going to let you do that. The government's never going to let you do double-blind studies, giving loads of cannabis to children and a placebo to some other children, and see how many of each of them get schizophrenia. That would be the only way to disprove it. And you're never going to be able to do that. And nobody in their right mind would do it anyway. But up until recently, up until 20 years ago, there was no evidence at all that cannabis was at all harmful. This is how they lie to you. It's like, yeah, anyway. So, so this is how it goes with making these videos. It's like I basically have to keep repeating the same thing. People aren't going to take it seriously. I know I'm right because all the evidence is behind me and it all makes sense. I see over and over again that these other people are just split up. They got split personalities. They believe lies. They worship the media like it was a god. They worship the government like it was a god, even though they know the media and the government are compulsive liars, both of them. So there's no doubt in my mind, the majority of people, the 90% of people, are completely insane. They're completely mad, right? It's not up for discussion, and just telling them the truth doesn't make any difference. So what I suggest people do is just do the work, do it from your own point of view, do your own version of the work. For me, it's been about learning how to control the power of the evil eye and the eyes of life and the eyes of death. Now, I feel like I'm coming closer to that. The reason it's good in a way for me to be moving gradually and slowly. I'm moving slowly towards it. So I've got time to reevaluate the idea. Do I really want that power? Do I really want to be able to kill people just by looking at them or thinking about them? You know, or save people, cure cancer just by looking at them in a certain way, you know, that kind of thing. Do I want that sort of power? You know, so I've got time to ask myself these sort of questions. before all that power gets thrust on me. Because I'm not sure if I actually do want that power. You know, when you sort of have a bit of time to think about these things, you can maybe change your mind. You might think, no, I don't know. That seems like a lot of responsibility. On the other hand, you know, if everyone else seems to get their way, they're going to destroy the world and make it uninhabitable. Well, I would kind of rather prevent that from happening. I don't mind getting rid of 90% of these people that are basically protecting the devil. Maybe they need to be got rid of. And the people that are more, you know, pro-life and conscious are the people that I want to sort of inherit this planet and like a new paradise on Earth. So yeah, I'm kind of a bit undecided. I'm kind of playing it by ear, but I don't see any point in making videos anymore. I've got more work to do. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to sign off now. Thanks for watching, you guys. Thanks for watching anyone else who eventually ever watches my video, this video. Bye.